She was once widely regarded as America's sweetheart, an actress whose comedic timing and warmth made her a household name across generations. In recent days, concern has grown after reports of her hospitalization in Los Angeles, though official details remain limited and uncertain. The silence surrounding her condition has only intensified public worry, especially among those who grew up watching her rise on screen. For many, this is not just another celebrity update, but a deeply personal moment of reflection on fragility, fame, and the unpredictability of life itself. It serves as a reminder that even those who appear strongest on screen carry private battles that often remain unseen until circumstances bring them forward. In moments like this, attention shifts from fame to humanity and from performance to the person behind. A childhood shaped by cameras and persistence, her journey into entertainment began not as a choice made in adulthood, but as a life shaped from infancy around cameras, sets, and the rhythm of production. Growing up in such an environment meant that the boundaries between ordinary childhood experiences and professional expectations were often blurred in ways few can imagine. Instead of a typical upbringing filled with routine school milestones alone, she was introduced early to auditions, scripts, and the discipline required to sustain a working career. This early exposure demanded resilience, as the demands of the industry often required long hours and emotional maturity beyond her years. Yet, rather than being overwhelmed by these pressures, she gradually adapted, developing a familiarity with performance that would later define her professional identity. Over time, what began as exposure became experience, and experience became the foundation of a career that would span decades, built through persistence and early work ethic. The breakthrough that defined a generation, her breakthrough arrived during her teenage years when she stepped into a television role that quickly resonated with audiences and transformed her into a recognizable figure almost overnight. The character she portrayed was infused with humor, relatability, and a kind of charm that made viewers feel an immediate connection, week after week. Her ability to deliver comedic timing while maintaining emotional authenticity set her apart in a crowded industry where many young actors struggled to stand out. Over more than a decade on the series, she became a consistent presence in viewers' lives, evolving alongside the character she played. What began as a youthful role gradually expanded into something more layered, revealing depth and versatility that audiences and critics began to recognize. By the time the show became a cultural staple, she had already established herself as more than a passing trend. She was now a household name, nationwide icon. Reinventing a career beyond typecasting when her long, running television role eventually came to an end, there was an expectation in some corners of the industry that she might struggle to escape the identity that had defined her for so long. Instead of fading into the background, she made a deliberate choice to pursue new opportunities across different formats, including film, television dramas, and stage work. This transition was not immediate or effortless. It required patience, persistence, and a willingness to take risks in unfamiliar roles that challenged public perception. Gradually, critics began to recognize a broader range in her performances, noting her ability to shift between comedic and dramatic material with equal skill. This period marked a significant reinvention, one that allowed her to move beyond the limitations of early fame and establish a more diverse artistic identity. Recognition followed in the form of awards and renewed respect, confirming her evolution as a versatile performer. A diagnosis that changed everything in 2021. She publicly shared that she had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, a moment that marked a profound shift in how both she and the public understood Her ongoing health journey. The announcement was not presented with dramatic detail, but with a quiet honesty that reflected both acceptance and uncertainty about the future. For fans who had followed her career for decades, the news reframed their understanding of the challenges she may have been quietly facing behind the scenes. It became clear that what audiences had seen on screen was only part of a much more complex personal reality. Behind the performances and public appearances, she had been navigating symptoms that would gradually affect mobility, energy levels, and daily routines. The disclosure reframed her career narrative into something more layered, centered not only on success, but also on resilience in the face of uncertainty and quiet, enduring personal strength. Navigating life with an unpredictable condition, multiple sclerosis is a chronic condition that affects the central nervous system, often leading to unpredictable changes in mobility, fatigue, and cognitive function. For someone whose professional life once relied heavily on physical energy, timing, and presence, the diagnosis required a fundamental restructuring of daily expectations. Activities that were once routine became more demanding, requiring pacing, rest, and careful attention to physical limits that could shift without warning. Despite these challenges, she has spoken openly about adapting to a new normal, one defined less by certainty and more by adjustment. Rather than withdrawing completely from public life, she has continued to engage in projects and conversations when her health allows. This ongoing participation reflects both determination and an effort to maintain connection with audiences who have supported her throughout her career. It also highlights how she continues to navigate uncertainty while redefining what participation in public life means today now. Staying present in a changing capacity even as her health condition progressed, she did not fully step away from public engagement, instead finding ways to remain connected on her own terms. Appearances became less frequent and more carefully managed, often adjusted to accommodate her physical needs and energy levels. Despite these limitations, each appearance carried significance, not because of spectacle, but because of the intention behind showing up. She continued to participate in interviews, discussions, and creative collaborations when possible, maintaining a presence that evolved rather than disappeared. This approach reflected a shift from constant visibility to meaningful engagement, prioritizing quality of interaction over quantity of appearances. In doing so, she demonstrated that public life does not have to be all or nothing, but can adapt to circumstance. Her continued presence, even in limited form, reinforced the idea that identity in the public eye can evolve without completely disappearing from view while still holding personal meaning for her, turning personal experience into shared understanding. As she became more open about her health journey, her words began to resonate with individuals facing similar challenges, many of whom found comfort in her honesty, rather than presenting herself as a figure of inspiration in a traditional sense. She often spoke in a grounded and realistic tone about her experiences. This approach allowed people to see not only the difficulties associated with her condition, but also the everyday adjustments required to navigate it. In doing so, she helped normalize conversations around chronic illness, particularly in spaces where such topics are often avoided or misunderstood. Her willingness to acknowledge vulnerability without sensationalism created a sense of relatability that extended beyond her original fan base. For many, she became a reminder that illness does not erase identity, creativity, or the value of continued participation in life. Her openness contributed to a broader understanding of living with invisible conditions' daily reality. Public concern following recent hospitalization. Recent reports of her hospitalization in Los Angeles have drawn widespread attention, particularly given her ongoing health condition and history of managing a chronic illness. While official details remain limited, the lack of clarity has naturally led to concern among fans and observers who have followed her journey closely. In situations like this, uncertainty often amplifies emotional responses, especially when the individual involved has been open about previous health struggles. However, it is also important to recognize the role of privacy during medical treatment and recovery, where information is not always immediately available. The balance between public curiosity and personal boundaries becomes particularly significant when a public figure is involved, as attention can easily intensify speculation. At its core, the situation underscores the reality that health challenges are deeply personal, even when they occur in the public eye, and deserve patience, understanding, and respect from outside observers during such times. The strength found in close relationships behind every public figure navigating personal difficulty is a network of family, friends, and caregivers who provide stability, emotional support, and practical assistance. In her case, this support system has played a crucial role in helping her adapt to the evolving demands of her condition. Whether through daily care, encouragement, or simply consistent presence, these relationships form the foundation that allows resilience to take shape over time. Such support is often invisible to the public, but becomes essential in moments when health challenges require ongoing adjustment and patience. It also highlights the importance of shared responsibility in caregiving, where no single individual carries the burden alone. For many facing chronic illness, the presence of a reliable support network can make a meaningful difference in both emotional and physical outcomes. Her experience reflects how interdependence often becomes a quiet but powerful part of navigating long-term health challenges and support systems. A legacy defined by more than fame. While she is widely remembered for her success in entertainment, her legacy has increasingly come to encompass not only her professional achievements, but also her personal resilience. Over time, audiences have begun to view her journey as one that extends beyond performance, shaped equally by determination and honesty in the face of adversity. Her willingness to speak openly about difficult experiences has contributed to a broader cultural understanding of chronic illness and long-term health management. In addition, her continued presence in selective creative work has demonstrated that careers in entertainment can evolve rather than simply conclude. This evolving narrative has shifted public perception from viewing her as a former star to recognizing her as a sustained example of adaptability. Her story now resonates not only through the roles she once played, but through the way she continues to engage with life's challenges, redefining success beyond traditional public recognition itself. Here, what this story ultimately reminds us at its heart, this story is not solely about fame or illness, but about the way human lives shift, adapt, and find meaning amid uncertainty. It reflects how public figures, despite their visibility, experience the same vulnerabilities and challenges that exist in everyday life. In following her journey, audiences are reminded that strength does not always appear in dramatic moments, but often in quiet persistence. The unfolding of her life story encourages reflection on empathy, patience, and the importance of respecting personal boundaries during difficult times. It also highlights the unpredictable nature of health and how quickly circumstances can shift regardless of status or achievement. Yet, within that uncertainty, there is still space for connection, understanding, and shared humanity that extends beyond individual experience. Ultimately, her journey illustrates that life is not defined by a single role or moment, but by continuous adaptation and the relationships that sustain us all.